Story 1. The man who appeared everywhere. It started with a simple errand. I had to stop by the gas station to fill up my car before heading to the grocery store. It wasn't a trip I was looking forward to, but it was part of the routine. The sky was overcast, the kind of day where you could almost feel the rain coming, though it hadn't quite arrived. As I pulled up to the pump and began filling the tank, I glanced around, my mind preoccupied with what I needed to buy at the store. That's when I saw him again. He was standing near the entrance to the gas station convenience store, just watching the traffic go by. The moment I saw him, a chill ran down my spine. It was the same man, the one I had seen at the market square a few days ago. His face was familiar, though I couldn't place where I had seen him before. My heart skipped a beat as I tried to shake off the unsettling feeling. I didn't know why, but his presence made me feel like I was caught in a moment I couldn't escape. I finished pumping the gas and quickly got into my car, trying to ignore the sense of unease building inside me. It was a coincidence, I told myself. The world was small, and people ran into each other all the time. But the feeling in my chest didn't ease. As I drove away from the gas station and made my way to the grocery store, I couldn't help but glance in my rearview mirror, half expecting to see the man following me. But the street was empty, and I tried to tell myself that I was being paranoid, overthinking a simple encounter. The grocery store wasn't far, and soon I was parking in front of the large glass doors, the bright fluorescent lights inside shining through. I grabbed a shopping basket and made my way inside, still feeling the lingering presence of the man in my mind. I pushed the thought aside and focused on my list, grabbing produce, dairy, moving from aisle to aisle without thinking much about it. But as I turned the corner near the bread aisle, there he was again. He was standing at the far end of the aisle, not looking at me, but his presence was unmistakable. My pulse quickened, and I felt a wave of confusion and disbelief. What was he doing here? How could he possibly be at the same grocery store at the exact same time? I stood frozen for a moment, my mind racing to come up with some logical explanation, but nothing made sense. I looked around, hoping no one else seemed to notice him, but the people around me were too busy with their own shopping. I took a deep breath and continued walking, trying to act normal, but my eyes kept flicking back to where he stood. I turned the corner again, trying to put some distance between us, but my steps were quickening, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't sure what to do. Should I confront him? Should I pretend I hadn't seen him and just carry on with my day? The tension in my body was rising, and I was starting to feel trapped in a loop of bizarre coincidences. I decided to leave the aisle and head toward the checkout lines, but just as I passed the final aisle, I saw him once again. He was standing at the entrance to the store, staring out toward the parking lot. It was as if he was waiting for something, or someone, or maybe just me. My breath caught in my throat, and I quickly averted my eyes, walking briskly toward the checkout counter. I couldn't understand it. What was happening? How was it possible that this man kept appearing everywhere I went? I paid for my items quickly, barely registering the cashier's smile, and made a hasty exit from the store, my mind spinning. I was determined to shake off the encounter, to tell myself that it was just a string of coincidences, that there was nothing unusual about it. But as I drove away from the grocery store, heading toward my next stop, a local coffee shop I frequented, I couldn't help but feel like something was following me. I tried to calm myself, taking deep breaths as I made the short drive across town. When I pulled into the coffee shop parking lot, I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I was just imagining things, if I was becoming paranoid. But as I stepped out of my car and looked around, there he was again. This time, he was sitting outside on the patio, a cup of coffee in front of him. I froze, my hand still gripping the door handle of my car. How was this happening? I hadn't told anyone where I was going, and I hadn't seen him at the gas station or grocery store while I was in the car. I hadn't even been inside the coffee shop yet, so there was no way he could have known I'd be there. It didn't make sense. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of it, but no explanation seemed to fit. Was he following me? Or was it all just a coincidence? I stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do. I could turn around and leave, go home, lock the doors, and forget about the strange day I was having. But something kept me rooted to the spot. The curiosity, that need to understand, was too strong. I took a deep breath and walked toward the coffee shop, trying to keep my composure, but my hands were shaking slightly. When I reached the door, I hesitated, glancing once more at the man sitting outside. He hadn't noticed me yet, and I considered turning around and leaving. but then I saw his eyes, and my stomach dropped. He was staring directly at me, his gaze intense and unwavering. I couldn't look away, and for a moment, it felt as though time stood still. Then, slowly, he raised his hand in a small wave, his lips curling into a faint, almost unreadable smile. I didn't know what to do. I had to do something. I opened the door and walked inside, my mind in a whirlwind. The barista greeted me as I approached the counter, but my focus was elsewhere, still on the man outside. I ordered my coffee as quickly as I could, trying to act as normal as possible, but every part of me was alert, aware of the man sitting just outside. I waited at the counter for my order, my hands clutching the warm cup when it was handed to me. As I turned toward the door, I glanced out the window, expecting to see him still sitting there, but when I looked, he was gone. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, I was overwhelmed by a mix of relief and confusion. I stepped outside, still feeling the weight of the day's strange events. I scanned the parking lot, the street, the sidewalk, but there was no sign of him. The man had vanished, as if he had never been there at all. My heart was still racing, and I stood there for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. I couldn't make sense of it. It felt like a dream, something I couldn't fully grasp. I got into my car, feeling a sense of exhaustion wash over me. The day had been surreal, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. Had I really seen him at all those places? Had it all just been some strange coincidence? Or was there something more to it? I couldn't answer those questions, but one thing was certain: I wouldn't forget the events of that day. The man, the way he seemed to appear out of nowhere, and the unsettling feeling he left in his wake. It was all too strange to dismiss. But for now, all I could do was drive home and hope that the strange encounters would end there. Story 2. The Stranger's Coat. I first noticed the coat on Tuesday evening. After another grueling 14-hour workday, I stumbled into my apartment to find the foreign garment hanging neatly on my coat rack. A heavy wool overcoat, the kind businessmen wore in 1940s noir films, slightly damp at the shoulders as if its owner had walked through evening mist. The rational part of my brain concocted explanations. Maybe the dry cleaner made a mistake. Perhaps my landlord had entered for maintenance. But the security camera footage showed nothing, just the coat appearing between frames at exactly 7:03 p.m. By Thursday, the coat had developed habits. I'd find it in different positions each morning, arms folded across the kitchen chair like a patient visitor, draped over my sofa as if embracing the space where I normally sat, once even arranged in my bed with the collar turned up expectantly. The text started Friday night. Unknown number, does it fit you yet? When I checked the pockets again, I found new items: a theater ticket for a play that closed in 1957, a handkerchief monogrammed with my initials in a font not used for decades, a photograph of a family that looked disturbingly like mine, but wasn't. On Sunday, I tried to destroy it. The coat resisted. Flames turned blue and sputtered out. The shredder jammed. When I threw it in a dumpster 3 blocks away, I returned home to find it waiting in my foyer, smelling faintly of my cologne. That's when the memories started. Flashes of a life I never lived, boarding a steamship to Lisbon, smoking under a street lamp in Prague, whispering promises to a woman whose face blurred when I tried to focus. The coat's memories were seeping into my mind like ink in water. This morning I woke buttoned inside it. The wool clung to my skin like a second layer of flesh. When I tried to remove it, my fingers passed through the fabric as if it weren't there. My reflection shows only the coat now, no face beneath the upturned collar. The final text came at midnight. Unknown number. Welcome home. Now I sit waiting for the new tenant to arrive. The coat needs a new caretaker, you see, and this apartment has such excellent bones for memories. If you ever come home to find an extra coat in your closet, do me one favor, check the inside pocket for a photograph. If the faces are blurred, run. If they're clear, well, then it's already too late. Story 3. The flickering porch light. It started as a minor curiosity. Every night at precisely 9:30 p.m., the porch light across the street at the Peterson residence would flicker in that same unnatural rhythm. 2 quick flashes, a pause, then 2 more. Not the random sputtering of a dying bulb, but something deliberate, something intentional. For 3 weeks, I documented it in my notebook, timing each occurrence with my phone's stopwatch. Never 9:29, never 9:31. Always exactly 9:30, as if synchronized to some invisible clock. Last Tuesday, I finally worked up the courage to mention it to Mrs. Peterson when I saw her watering her prize-winning geraniums. That old thing? She laughed, adjusting her sun hat. Been doing that since before we bought the place in '92. We had 3 electricians check it out. Not a single thing wrong with the wiring. She leaned in conspiratorially, the smell of lavender and mint on her breath. Previous owner was some government scientist. Worked strange hours. My herald always said he was signaling someone, though Lord knows who'd be watching our quiet street. That night, for the first time in my records, the light didn't flicker. Instead, it burned steadily through the night, casting long shadows across the Petersons' manicured lawn. At 3:17 a.m., a sound like dry branches scraping glass woke me. Through my bedroom window, I saw them, 3 elongated figures standing motionless beneath that unwavering light. Too tall, too thin, their heads tilted at identical unnatural angles as they faced the Peterson home. The next morning, the bulb lay shattered on the sidewalk. Mrs. Peterson's geraniums, which had won neighborhood awards for 12 straight years, hung blackened and dead in their pots. And carved into the white porch railing, deep enough to expose the raw wood beneath the paint, were 4 jagged words. We noticed you watching. That's when my bedroom light started flickering. Not at 9:30 p.m. At 3:17 a.m. 2 quick flashes. A pause. Then 2 more. Last night, I woke to find my hand already on the light switch, moving of its own accord in perfect synchronization with the rhythm. Through the window, they stood at the edge of my yard, those impossible figures with faces that weren't quite faces, their elongated fingers twitching in time with my flickering light. Mrs. Peterson's house has been dark for 3 nights now. The "for sale" sign went up this morning, but I can't leave. Not when they're teaching me the patterns. Not when I'm starting to understand what comes after the 4th flash.